Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows? Only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows? Only time.
Good morning. I hope you're having a good day. Welcome back to history class, where today we're going to be talking about something that we sort of started talking about on Monday, and that is what happened to the Christians during the Roman Empire. Okay, we said that Jesus came to earth during the time of Caesar Augustus, and he lived on earth for more than 30 years. He taught people about God and what they should do. And then when he went back to heaven, he left behind his followers to start the church, which we said is all the people who believe in Jesus. They're called the church, or they're called Christians. But the Roman Empire didn't like the Christians. There are a number of reasons. One of them was that they said that you should only worship God. The Romans had lots of gods, remember? And some of the emperors decided that they were going to make themselves up as gods. They wanted the people to pray to them because they thought they were gods. And so the Roman emperors did not like the Christians. Nero, we said, blamed the Christians for burning down Rome, which wasn't true. But Nero was only the start. After Nero, there were many, many other emperors. Nero was the first to do this, but there were many that came after him. These are known as the persecutions of the church. From 67 AD, which is when Nero executed Paul, to about 300 AD, there were 10 great persecutions, 10 emperors who said, it's going to be my job to wipe out the Christians. And the sort of things they did are the sort of things that I'm not going to talk about because you will be up all night with nightmares. I've mentioned some of them before. Some of these Christians were sent to the circus to die by the gladiators. Some of them were thrown to the lions. In fact, at one point, the lions had eaten so many Christians that they stopped eating because they were just sick and tired of how Christians taste. They wanted something different. Some of them were beaten to death. The lucky ones just had their heads cut off. It was nice and quick. There was one guy who was covered in honey and hung up in a tree. And you're probably saying, what's wrong with that? Well, honey attracts insectos, and attracted bees, abejas. The bees smelled the honey, came, and stung the poor guy to death. Some of these Christians were burned to death. They were tied up and thrown into a fire. It was a horrible, horrible time to be a Christian. And you might be thinking, well, why didn't they just stop being Christians? Or why did they say, hey, I'm not going to be a Christian anymore? Well, a lot of them were given that chance. When the soldiers came for them, they were said, they told the Christians they found, you get one chance. Either you give up Christianity or you die. And some of them did give it up. Went back to worshiping the Roman gods. But a lot of them said, no, my love for God is stronger than my fear of death. And so no matter how hard the Romans tried to persecute the Christians kept going. They kept sharing their love of Jesus. They kept going all over the world, all over the Roman Empire, to tell people about Jesus. And no matter how hard the Romans tried to stomp them out, they kept on telling people about Jesus, and so many more people kept getting saved. That happens a lot even today. The harder the governments try to get rid of Christianity, the more people want to know about it and listen to it and want to find out about it. But a lot of these Christians were killed. And the word for that is martyr. It's martir in Spanish. The very first martyr, the very first person who died for what he believed in, that's what a martyr is, someone who dies for what they believe in. The very first martyr we find in the book of Acts, book of Hechos. There's a man named Stephen. He told the Jews about Jesus, and they dragged him out of the city and killed him. Well, that was the Jews who did that to Stephen. But then yesterday we talked about how, on Tuesday we talked about how the Jews were scattered all over the world. So now that the Romans are done dealing with the Jews, they turn their attention to the Christians. And it was a terrible, terrible time to be a Christian in Rome. For hundreds of years this happened until there was a new emperor came to power, a man called Constantine. And we'll be talking about Constantine here very soon. But Constantine said, you know what? Enough of this. Enough of this. We're going to stop persecuting the Christians. In fact, I'm going to be a Christian. I'm going to become a Christian, and I'm going to make Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. We're going to stop worshiping we're going to stop worshiping the Roman gods and start worshiping the one true God. And so after nearly 200 years of this, more than 200 years of this, the Christians were finally stopped being persecuted by the Roman Empire, and they had peace. So the Christians won in the end. Sort of. We'll talk more about that when we talk about Constantine, either next week or the week after that. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that when it happens. So that's all we have for right now. So before we end, let's go over our questions for today. Question number 1: how many of the great persecutions of the Christians were there? And there were 10. 10 great persecutions, 10 emperors who tried to destroy the Christians. Question number 2: what is the name for someone that dies for what they believe in? And that is a martyr. A martyr in Spanish. And question number 3: who stopped the persecutions of the Christians? And that was the Emperor Constantine. Emperor Constantine. And like I said, we'll talk about him in the near future. Well, that's all we have for right now. Let's wrap this up, and then we'll come back to the Roman Empire on Monday. So I will see you then. Have a great weekend. Take care.